The Trump administration may be turning to tracking the mail to find people in this country without authorization. Postal investigators were just involved in a raid in Colorado. Unions and business groups are trying to agree on changes to Colorado's labor law in the next 6 days.
And so we're confident that, they're going to do the right thing.
Patients come to the hospital where they get their cancer treatment for a very different kind of day.
I think it's just a wonderful day filled with smiling women.
That's tonight on Next. The U.S. Postal Service, in addition to delivering mail, may soon be helping deliver people to the Trump administration for deportation. Because postal inspectors were just involved in a raid in Colorado. Our Marshall Zellinger shows us how immigration efforts might involve eavesdropping on our mail.
This video, posted online by Rocky Mountain DEA over the weekend, shows the law enforcement involved in the raid that happened in Colorado Springs. The FBI, DEA, U.S. Postal Inspector, U.S. Postal Inspector. These are the postal police that generally investigate postal crimes, like drugs in the mail, or like in Mesa County recently, theft of election mail ballots. The DEA special agent in charge listed all the federal agencies that are being called in to assist with drug enforcement and immigration.
We had a ton of partners out there. DEA took the lead on this thing, but we had FBI and ATF, Homeland Security Investigations, ICE, we had the U.S. Postal Service, we had Army CID, I'm missing somebody, IRS and the Border Patrol were there with us, along with the Sheriff's Office and the police departments.
Yeah, an agent with IRS Criminal Investigations was there too. But there's more to dive into with that U.S. Postal Inspector. The Washington Post reported this week that immigration is seeking mail images that postal inspectors have access to assist immigration with deportations. There is a legitimate investigative purpose for postal inspectors to track the information on a mail envelope, like your name and address, but not the inside of the mail without a search warrant. Everyone's mail is actually tracked by the Postal Service. Informed delivery is a service that allows you to get an email with an image of your mail before it arrives in your mailbox. I asked the Department of Homeland Security today if it is seeking informed delivery images to assist ICE. A senior DHS official emailed back, "Under President Trump, the Department of Homeland Security will use every tool and resource available to secure our border." Informed delivery is a bit different than what's called mail covers, which is when the U.S. postal inspectors have a request from law enforcement to track the information on someone's mail to help with an investigation. I will say, I checked the privacy policy of informed delivery, the thing that you and I can subscribe to. There is language that says the Postal Service cannot share with marketers without permission, but nothing about sharing with ICE.
For quite a while, there's been the assumption that there are some areas of the federal government that people can interact with safely, even if they're not in this country without authorization, right? Those folks are told, file your taxes with the IRS. You're not going to get in trouble for filing your taxes. Do that. If you are a crime victim, you talk to federal prosecutors, or you're not going to get grabbed at a courthouse. I never really gave thought to the Postal Service, right?
Oh, yeah. The only time we've talked about this was that Mesa County case where the election ballots were stolen and they started tracking that way. I talked to someone who's like, yeah, you've got drug in the mail, you've got illegal money through the mail. There's a reason that the postal inspectors exist. Mm-hmm. Hey, can I get the name and address of someone who I think might be here illegally? Let me have that. Never, who thought that? Yeah, well, it's all now under the Trump umbrella. He's made it clear he'll use every resource. Mark Zellinger's been here for a couple of months. Now Marshall Zellinger is back. Thank you, Marshall. A U.S. Army soldier is the only person currently facing federal charges after the mass immigration raid in Colorado Springs over the weekend. The DEA detained more than 100 people that night, handed them over to ICE for deportation, claiming they took dangerous criminals off the streets of Colorado. The FBI now says that Sergeant Juan Orono Rodriguez from Fort Carson was arrested yesterday for selling cocaine to an undercover officer. He was one of 17 active duty Army soldiers at the club that night. He was providing security there. The DOJ says this is the only federal criminal case connected to that immigration raid so far. A similar raid happened at a nightclub in Adams County in January. It resulted in national media attention, praise from the Trump administration, claims that dangerous people were taken off the streets, and exactly 0 criminal charges. A janitorial business in Denver is facing more than $7 million in fines from the feds for allegedly employing dozens of people without authorization to work in this country.
Like much of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement, this effort is also focused on Democrat-run areas. Yesterday, ICE announced $7.7 million in fines against CCS Denver and a subsidiary for employing nearly 100 unauthorized workers. Homeland Security can carry out worksite enforcement through civil fines or by arresting employers and workers. Today, a Homeland Security spokesperson said the goal is to level the playing field for businesses and workers. Those audits and arrests spiked during the first Trump administration. Trump's team is pledged to do the same again.
I would say that it slowed down under the prior administration, and we have reprioritized it. It is a new and upcoming priority here, and specifically here in the Denver area.
CCS now has 30 days to decide whether to appeal the fine to an administrative court, try and settle with ICE, or just pay up. Another business, Green Management Denver, faces $200,000 in fines for having 44 unauthorized workers. State records show that business has been delinquent since 2022. It's not clear if they're operating anymore. So Democrats came hard charging into the Capitol this year with big plans to make it easier for workers to unionize in Colorado. Then Democratic Governor Jared Polis essentially said, stop. He said he was going to turn his veto power over to the business lobby, essentially. He said if business did not like this union bill, then he would not sign it. Well, things got real quiet on the issue for months. Our Evan Krugel looks at where it stands with just 6 days left in the legislative session.
On International Workers' Day, hundreds gathered outside the state capitol, with some celebrating the right to unionize.
It's not surprising. It's what I see every day working with our members and other working people.
Stephanie Felix Soe is the president of a union that represents more than 8,000 Colorado workers, including janitors, security guards, and healthcare workers.
Unions are really the place where people can go, come together, utilizing their power and their strength in numbers to fight back against these injustices in our country.
But Stephanie says forming unions in Colorado is too hard, thanks to a decades-old law that requires workers to hold 2 elections to start a union instead of just 1.
We can massively improve things for workers by eliminating that second election.
Democratic State Representative Javier Mabry is behind Senate Bill 5, which, despite widespread support from Democrats, has been sitting unchanged in the political queue at the Capitol for more than 3 months. One reason, Democratic Governor Jared Polis hinted right here on Next, he didn't love it.
And I don't think abolishing that second vote is right. I think people want to have a say over whether they're going to have a deduction from their paycheck. That's very reasonable. How it's done, the way it's done, very open to that discussion.
Discussions that are reportedly still happening at the Capitol with less than a week left in the session.
I would be incredibly shocked if we don't see a vote on it by next Wednesday. I am almost certain that we will see a vote on either Senate Bill 5 or some compromise version that massively strengthens the right to collectively bargain.
So, what could those compromises be? Well, it could involve allowing some unions to form with just 1 vote if they meet a certain percentage of votes from workers. Those are the specifics being worked out right now between those business lobbyists and legislators at the Capitol. Kyle, the governor's office told me they are very involved in these discussions. They're also optimistic common ground can be found before that deadline next week.
If I'm reading into Representative Mabry's comments there, I mean, that sounded like goalpost shifting to me. That sounded like we're not going to get what we said we were going to get, but we're going to do something that unions will like.
Yeah, and listen, it's been sitting there for 3 months with that deadline quickly approaching. Not surprising to see both sides offering some wiggle room to make this happen.
Evan Krugel, thank you very much. The Trump Justice Department is indicating that it may get involved to stop Colorado's latest gun control law. Republicans who did not have the votes to stop it at the state capitol have been begging the feds to intervene over the law that requires training before you can purchase many semi-automatics. Last month, Democratic Governor Jared Polis signed off on that bill requiring in-person firearm training and a sheriff-issued eligibility card to buy most semi-autos with detachable magazines. Democrats say this just reinforces Colorado's existing ban on high-capacity magazines. Republicans say that's not it. They say that this forces people to pay for this training class, essentially buying back their gun rights from the government. The GOP called on the Trump administration to come into Colorado and help. Here's what the head of the DOJ's Civil Rights Division said earlier this week.
Colorado just passed a law that is extremely onerous and imposes a financial burden on gun ownership. We will be working together to make this a focus of the Civil Rights Division, challenging state law that violates fundamental civil rights in the Civil Rights Division.
Gun rights groups have said that they will challenge the law in court if the Trump administration does not intervene. Here's the tricky thing about that, right? Somebody has to be harmed before they can sue, and this law doesn't take effect until next summer. Critics of Denver school superintendent are begging the school board not to give this man an early contract renewal. And for cancer patients, a rare trip to the hospital today that was fun.
It feels humbling that people would take the time to do this.
Pampering patients and putting aside treatment for a day. Next. The superintendent of Denver Public Schools could score an early contract extension after not a lot of public discussion. Superintendent Alex Marrero's time here has been controversial. There have been a lot of debates over school safety and student achievement gaps. Tonight, the Denver School Board is expected to consider an extension of Marrero's contract, which doesn't expire until next June. Supporters say it's important for the district to have continuity, stability, as the Trump administration upends the education system. Critics have argued that that contract needs to wait until after voters get a chance to weigh in through school board elections in November. Marrero's term has included controversy over the removal and return of school resource officers following a shooting at East High School. And earlier this week, a coalition including Latino state legislators and Denver City Council members asked the board to delay a possible extension until they can further review achievement gaps for Latino students. There aren't many publicly available details about what they're thinking of giving the superintendent. The board is scheduled to discuss just vaguely mentioned amendments tonight after they take public comment.
Tracking scattered rain showers along the Front Range, including Denver and Fort Collins, although the sun coming out there just a little bit. Dark clouds off to the west of Denver, and that will signal the arrival of showers as they track from the northwest toward the east. Non-severe storms, a super soaker for some of you. We had heavy rain last night, late into the night, and temperatures have trended cooler today on the backside of that passing front. Winds are starting to pick up. Another short wave is crossing Colorado, and so the chance for precipitation increasing over the next couple of hours and then diminishing after midnight. This whole storm system is going to pull east away from Colorado, allowing for high pressure to build in for the next 3 days. We're tracking showers coming northwest to southeast. The yellow indicates some of the heavier showers around Boulder up toward the Platteville area, Brighton, and we have scattered showers in the Denver area as well. If you haven't seen rain, you've got a chance over the next few hours before skies clear, and then you're going to wake up to sunshine on your Friday. A beautiful Friday that will kick off a nice warming trend that will last the weekend. If you're headed out in the next couple of hours, grab a jacket and an umbrella. If you're going to watch the Avs game or the Nuggets game, it's a little cool out there and it may be damp, but we're back to sunshine, almost 70 Friday. We jumped 10 degrees on Saturday, close to 80 Sunday, and the weather impact alerts are possible. Heavy rain and a severe weather threat growing for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week.
If you ever need proof that local government can move at a snail's pace, look closely at the small stuff. Like in a part of southwest Denver, where a debate over traffic control has dragged on for years. The city's transportation department first pitched the idea of a protected bike lane on a 2-mile stretch of South Irving Street back in 2020. After a 5-year stalemate, the city is now telling neighbors, yeah, that bike lane's not going to happen.
So we've heard a lot from the community about the importance of retaining the on-street parking on the street. We've heard a lot from folks about speeding. Speeding is a huge issue on Irving. People are going way, way too fast.
Last night, the city held an open house to put forward their latest ideas on how to slow down vehicles without making drivers too mad. They hope to offer a compromise with speed cushions to slow down vehicles, additional crosswalks to run throughout that corridor, and a traffic diverter to move some vehicles off South Irving. The proposal also includes a non-protected bike lane for the busiest sections of the street. The city says those should not mess with on-street parking for most of the corridor, even though their most recent study showed only 19% of that parking is regularly used.
How do you balance the community voice saying we want to keep our parking when that utilization number is so low?
Yeah, it's a tricky push and pull. You know, we have to make sure that folks are able to access their homes and feel safe and feel comfortable. We heard a lot from the community that they don't feel really comfortable walking around, particularly at night. And if you have to park your car around the corner to then walk back to your house, that becomes kind of a personal safety issue for them.
So next, the city starts the feedback process all over again for the new ideas. Set a calendar reminder for 2023. No, I'm sorry. They have an online survey that's open through the end of the month.
And when they say to you, you have cancer, it kind of buckles you and it makes everything else seem not as important.
While cancer patients are focused on the fight of their lives, their care teams want to make sure that they don't forget about a little fun. Hey, a reminder, you can catch Next streaming each night, 6 p.m. on 9 News Plus, and Next is now a podcast each weeknight, wherever you get your podcasts. We walked into a cancer center today and saw a ton of smiles. Not what you might expect, but exactly what the Advent Health Cancer Center planned.
So I just want to thank you for coming today as you're meeting your Paul Mitchell people.
I think it's just a wonderful day filled with smiling women. Hi, I'm Mary Ann. Nice to meet you. And when they say to you, you have cancer, it kind of buckles you and it makes everything else seem not as important. I was thinking like strawberry blonde or something like that. What do you think about purple? You know, that's a very stressful thing. And this is just total fun, just total relaxation.
Perfect.
I was diagnosed in June and had the surgery in June. By the end of the summer, I noticed that there was hair on my pillow. That's what I noticed. Not like I'm balding totally, it's just like in certain areas. I have a lot of purple clothes and lavender, so. They say about your hair, and it's true. Oh, okay, I got it. If women don't feel that their hair looks good, yeah, I think that's the right length, yeah. You know, they just don't feel as good. I don't feel any stress in this room. Oh, no, yeah. I don't feel any stress at all. It's me. It's you. With some lavender eyeshadow and a lavender blouse. Yes. Wanna look cute? I just feel happiness. And cancer doesn't usually bring happiness. But today it's happy. And this is just going to be totally fun to wear.
What a beautiful gesture. Hey, Marilyn's broken wrist is improving. She's graduated from exercises with a thing of pasta to now wielding a hammer. I'm in danger. And we're back with feedback next. Interesting feedback tonight from Tracy, who wrote in to say thank you for the update on the Fort Carson soldier involved with and charged in that DEA immigration raid in the Springs. Tracy says, as a veteran and potential future chaplain in the National Guard, she says it breaks my heart to hear these kinds of stories, but she says, unfortunately, not very surprised. Tracy said, that's why I want to be a chaplain, have more positive impact on soldiers. It's really interesting. I appreciate the fact that you have served, that you're willing to serve again, and that you want those who serve to lead the best possible lives and be contributing members of society on a lot of levels. And a text that says, is that a dish towel that you were wearing? It's just a blue and white jacket that I wore to talk to the kids at Swigert International this morning. Those are their school colors.